There you go. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing this afternoon
I'm
or this evening, whatever it is
evening.
where you are?
Yeah, doing good. And thank you very much for this opportunity to interview you, Tom.
Oh, it's my pleasure, truly.
Okay, so friends, we have Tom Nicoli here. So let me brief a bit about him. Tom Nicoli is an international published author and speaker and holds several certifications as a personal development coach, NLP practitioner, hypnosis instructor, and professional consultant. Tom is also a board certified hypnotist with the National Guild of Hypnotists, certified instructor coach, NGH Advisory Board Member, Order of Braid Council Member, and adjunct faculty member. So he has decades of experience, and let us know more about his experience from his own words. So, Tom, how did you get into hypnosis?
Well, since I was 10, I'm 63 now. I've started as a musician.
Mhm.
By the time I was 12, I was playing in public. 15, I was in bands and clubs before I could even drive. And I wasn't of legal age, but I was still allowed to play. And as a performer, my whole life, I thought, that stage hypnosis stuff looks pretty cool. But how I was aware of hypnosis was I read a marketing book. It wasn't even a book, it was a 3-ring binder. And in there, at the beginning said, you haven't succeeded, not because of action. You're reading this, it's because of how you think. And it gave a mental exercise, and it started to really have an effect. So I thought, what the heck is going on? And I researched a little bit and realized what it was self-hypnosis. So I really started getting into it and started learning about hypnosis on my own before I even thought about getting certified. And then I thought, that would be really cool doing that stage stuff, right? Because I'm really comfortable on a stage. I still am a working musician. I still work 2 to 4 nights a week playing music. So when I went to meet the instructor, who actually I was living in the Boston area, Boston, Massachusetts, he was in the same city, and I thought, well, this is kind of convenient. So when I went to talk to him, I was married at the time, and I said, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. 2 hours later, I came home. Now, there was no cell phones then. This is 1999. There was, no way to get a hold of me. So I came back. My wife says, what's going on? Where have you been? I said, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist. She said, what? Now, at the time, I was a full mouth reconstruction dental technician. I used to make, big cases. And I transitioned. So I was working 50, 60 hours a week in the lab, 2 to 4 nights a week as a musician, and started building my practice. So I was awake about 20 hours a day for about a year. And when I went to get certified, when I went to talk to this guy about the stage hypnosis, he said, I could teach you that, but there's another part of this. And I swear to you, it was like a cartoon where a light bulb went off over my head. And I said, I'm in. And that was the beginning, and I never looked back. And in my training, and this is why it's great as a coach to hypnotists, because there is no parameters as far as training. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it isn't all good.
Yes.
I was trained one-on-one, and I never hypnotized anyone during the training. A month later, I opened an office, and I thought, well, let's see. And I went from there. And my first office was 8 feet by 8 feet. It was a storage closet, but I had been bankrupt with credit card debt and all kinds of stuff. So I thought, well, if I can hypnotize you in the front seat of a car, this is big enough. And it was all I could afford. And that's where I started. And when I got on national TV, they even filmed in that office. So I come from what we could call some real humble beginnings, and was really blessed and have had a career that's been amazing. Amazing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, and I have done some stage hypnosis, back in early in my career. I thought, you know what? I still want to do some of that. So I've done a few shows here and there, but it wasn't my main groove at all.
Awesome. So that's how musician plus hypnosis. Awesome.
Yep. Well, the entertainer part of it all, that's what got me into the idea of doing stage hypnosis, because I knew how, good it worked. And then I thought, well, the only thing I really know about it, I didn't know about office work and working with people. I just knew it was entertainment. But when I heard you can work with people, and then I talked with Steve Rother once, you can look that guy up, incredible history on him. And he laughed when I told him this story. He said, of course you were going to be a healer again. You've done it many, many, many times. It was inevitable. And I said, well, all I know is one of those things that I was, like the guitar, I was absolutely destined to have it in my life.
Wow. And could you please, like, major things people know, applications of hypnosis for weight loss, quit smoking and all that. So I want to ask about the weight loss. Is it, again, I'm asking behalf of people who are not aware of or who are skeptical about hypnotherapy, Tom. So is it possible really to lose weight or release weight? These days, people want to release weight. They don't want to lose it. Yeah, different words. But is really weight loss possible through hypnotherapy sessions?
Well, any behavior change we seek is possible through this process we call hypnosis. But what people don't understand, first I'll address their skepticism. We don't call it hypnosis during the day, but the process that we refer to as hypnosis goes on constantly. We could call it influence, persuasion, power of suggestion, advertising, media. It's whenever you're in a trance state, which is just not thinking, not zombie-like. People hear trance and they think of zombie. No, we're just talking about not thinking and that being zoned out, spaced out, right? Like, oh, well, that's nice. And then we're influenced because suggestions are passing our conscious filter. So the process we call hypnosis goes on constantly. So we're using a natural process intentionally. That's all. It's just a word that people don't understand. That's all. As far as the applications go, when it comes to weight loss, the whole idea is this. It's helping people do what they already know they need to do to release fat from their body, which is what weight loss is. That is to be a little active and to eat correctly. But even if you're active and eat correctly, if you have emotional weight, your body will stay stuck. Now, I know a thing or two about weight loss hypnosis because after appearing on national TV in America on a show called Dateline NBC, 3 episodes over 10 months, and I helped a pastry chef release 40 pounds, you can imagine how many people wanted to work with me. I was doing 15 one-hour sessions a day, 7 days a week. And I did that for months and months. And I had people on a waiting list, like 80, 100 people just waiting to get in. And it was insane. But all I knew back then, because I come from real low income, blue collar, hardworking background, I just knew if you worked, you got paid. I didn't know about systems in business or nothing. So I just worked and worked. And I had, I don't know, from 5 years old to 91 years old, in every walk of life you can imagine, I've had clients. So I've learned a thing or two. And along the way, I got really, really perplexed about people doing well, eating correctly, eating really healthy, not dieting, because a diet's whatever you consume. Another word that got ruined along the way. So they'd be on a healthy eating plan, or they'd be choosing to eat healthy, removing all the stuff that causes problems, and be active and not lose a pound. Oh, so there's one question I would ask during a session. What purpose does this weight serve you? You'd be surprised sometimes what comes up, though there are some common answers. Like, well, this is my cross to bear. Everything I have, I need to work in order to deserve it. Well, that's not true. That's one. And one is defense. But we're not really defending ourselves being heavy. We're vulnerable being heavy, so it's warped. But the mind's illogical. Only the brain's logical. The mind's illogical because it's emotional. But here's the thing that you must do if you work with weight loss clients. You have to first help them release their emotional weight. So if they have low self-esteem, that's emotional weight. They have stress and tension and pressure, that's emotional weight. I mean, think of these words, because the body matches who we really are, which is the energy inside of this physical body. Your name is not who you are. Your body's not who you are. It's what's inside this physical vehicle to get through a physical life on a physical planet. So imagine when people say, well, that was heavy on my mind. The body matches. I carried that forever. That weight on me, had the weight of the world on my shoulders. These kind of sayings, these phrases that people use, the mind says, yeah, your wish is my command. So if you feel heavy, you will be heavy. So once I started helping people release their emotional weight, it was amazing how when they were so stuck, it would shift. So work with people. My first session with every weight loss client, and most clients, is remove emotional clutter. So it's a metaphor in order to not have to address things head on specifically, but to get a general cleaning out of whatever's going on metaphorically. And it's amazing how it works. And people even say, is it weird that I feel physically lighter? Like, no, not at all, because your body is the result of what you are energetically. So the last part of that is people have the wrong idea. Hypnosis doesn't help you lose weight, quote unquote, or release fat. Your behaviors and actions do, and the way you think and feel do. So when people say, I haven't lost any weight yet, I ask them, are you eating healthier? Yeah. Are you active and doing more than you've done before? Yeah. Then hypnosis has worked for you. Now your body will do what your body will do based on your behaviors. So hypnosis helps with thoughts, feelings, and behavior. The physical body will do whatever that physical body will do based on those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And not two people get the same results. So when they come in and say, well, my girlfriend was here and I want what she got. Like, well, you're not her. And maybe you can do better. But that's where it starts. You must help people release their emotional weight and to start to feel lighter and more confident and to believe that they can actually have this result. Because if they have a yeah, but, well, I know this can work and I know people lose weight. Yeah, but I'm not sure if I can. You're stuck. So that's where it has to begin. And then, of course, you reinforce the eating healthy patterns and activity and things like that. Pardon me while I have my coffee.
Yeah. And Tom, like since you said daily 15 sessions, 7 days a week for months and months as you have worked, on an average, because of working with various people, what was the average number of sessions you worked with a specific client, Tom? For weight loss.
Well, back then, I didn't know anything, right? I mean, I really knew nothing. Especially compared to now, forget it. It would be like kindergarten in college. The difference. So I used to do this a lot. I ask people when I do talks and presentations, how many people are doing finger cross hypnosis? I hope this works. I hope this works, because you really don't know. You're not sure what you're doing or why it works and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's what I did. It's like, well, I hope this works. So my instructor told me this, and it's bad advice. I said, well, what do you do now that, you get a client? He goes, you do 3 sessions. Your first session's 2 hours. Your next session's 1 hour, and then another session for an hour. I'm like, okay, I didn't know. Like, you out of your mind? What if somebody comes in with 30, 40 or more pounds to release? You can see them 3 times. This process is magical, but it is not magic. People who are doing 1 session hypnosis are doing a disservice to their people. And it's up to us to explain to them what they require. So back then, it was a 3-session program. Some people did 5, 6, and 7 3-session programs because it's going so well. They want to do more. Okay, great. And I still didn't click and think, wait a minute, I need to develop, a variety of different programs. So it's kind of like this. Jay Abraham helps people become 100 millionaires. And he said, I get my hair cut every 10 days. And I asked my barber, how often do people get their haircut? He goes, well, not like you. He goes, well, when? He goes, 2 months, 3 months. He said, should they come in sooner? He said, yeah. He said to the barber, then you're doing your customers a disservice. You're the expert. It's up to you to tell them what they require. So many people in our profession let the client tell them how much work they're going to do. I mean, they're the ones that ultimately decide. But the way I explain it to people is this. when they tell me their situation and how long it's going on and how much of a problem it is, I say, the only thing I can know is your starting point. And think of it like a wound. And it is a wound, but it's not a physical wound. And I said, if you needed 5 stitches, I wouldn't give you 10. And if you needed 10, I wouldn't give you 2.
Yes.
So, and I tell them your starting point may be your end point, but we don't know that until we do the work. Okay. So I have, my minimum is a 4-session program, but not many people ever get into that program because it's like a boost. It's a tune-up. It's a, things are going sideways, and before it gets bad, I want to, really jump on it. So we do that. But the other part is when people are done, they're not done. Why does every great athlete still have a coach? They know how to play.
Yes.
Because the coach keeps you on track. The coach sees things you don't. The coach is able to brainstorm with you about what you're doing rather than you're all on your own thinking you're going to work it all out. So there's reinforcement and maintenance programs where you don't see them weekly. They're really addressing their issues. You get all the real junk out of the way. So some people, like later on today, I'll see somebody I see monthly. Then there are other people, it's a couple weeks, 3 weeks. And then eventually maybe it's a monthly session. It keeps them on track. But in my programs, and I don't do packages of sessions. You sell package of cucumbers and tomatoes. We do programs. But in a program, there's the multiple sessions weekly. And then there's MP3 downloads. So every day they're doing a session with me rather than some other hypnotist. They're just doing them once a week. And then for 6 days, they're on their own. And I also teach them self-empowerment techniques. So when things come up, they can manage what's going on in here. And that creates a full program. So I have the person enter the program most suited for their situation. And then we just go from there and see what happens. Just to end it with this, because people think, well, people don't want to do a lot of work. Well, you have the wrong guy. You have the wrong coach or instructor or whatever. My longest client was 12 years. And not because I'm bad at what I do. I can honestly say I'm really good at what I do. It's been 23 years, almost 24 years now. April will be 24 years, or March actually will be 24 years. So Ron had lost a total of 100 pounds or released 100 pounds with me in the course of time. And he also increased his confidence and self-esteem. And he got rid of all the people in his life that were just energy vampires. And he said, you're like my chiropractor. You're in my circle of care, my masseuse, my chiropractor, my doctor. So he knew that it was beneficial in order to be the best version of himself. And my practice is called A Better You, that this was something that should be in his life as part of his lifestyle. So never underestimate how much work somebody will do if they're getting the results they desire, because that's what people buy, results. They don't buy anything other than results.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Tom, because, these days it has become fad like, oh, I just see a client for 1 session and I never see them, or like 2 sessions. But honestly, some people require more sessions and long period of working. So thank you very much for clarifying.
This is right. Keep that word in mind. When I tell people, I say, now the process we call hypnosis, and then I explain a little bit. I say, and the key word there is process. And I've been on a lot of television, and in the Boston area, when I was on Fox News, one of the sound bites they used repetitively was, I looked in the camera and I said, hypnosis is magical, but it's not magic. It's expedient, it's natural, so it's safe and it's effective, but it's still a process.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And Tom, you have also written a book on weight loss. So could you please tell about it?
Yeah. So Thinking Thin, the truth about weight loss.
Thinking Thin, lovely title.
Yeah. See, even that's not clear because people will assume, I believe, that it's conscious thinking. Well, I have to think this way. No, it's the subconscious thoughts, the stuff that you're consciously not even aware of. But what the book basically is informing people about is that this isn't so much about the next diet or the next exercise routine, which all have their place. This is about getting to the point of it all, getting to where it all begins. As you think, so you are. Thoughts become reality. But a lot of those thoughts, as we know, are at the subconscious level, wreaking havoc and causing problems. And that's why, we're necessary. But yeah, in that book, I can say I'm internationally published because it's published in America and India, of all places.
Yeah. So our Indian audience will definitely be interested. I'll share the link also, whoever is interested to purchase. Yeah. And Tom, let's talk about
Thank you.
quit smoking. So, like, is it possible a person is addicted to smoking, let's say, for the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? So can really hypnotherapy be useful in helping a person to be a non-smoker?
Well, of course. Smoking, along with phobias, even though I've said what I said about single session work, are the only two areas where you can bring somebody in for a session and have results like that. Okay. Because it's either you do it or you don't. And phobia relief is rather quick when you have some NLP techniques under your belt and things like that, right? But the smoking thing, the word addiction, you got to tread this fine line with people, and you got to work within their beliefs, but do your best to get them out of being stuck in a belief that will keep them stuck. So when people say to me, oh, I'm addicted or whatever, I say, okay, imagine somebody addicted to heroin. They're not going to tomorrow not do heroin and think, wow, this is strange. Well, they're going to go through some serious withdrawals and things like that, right? But we know this. Everyone knows somebody who smoked and just stopped smoking. How the hell can you do that? Because it's not a physical addiction. You may have some physical withdrawal symptoms, maybe, and nervousness and all that, because that was the substance of choice that distracted you from what you think and feel in order to get some relief from whatever's going on in here that causes you anxiety and stress and tension and all this stuff that goes on. And that's what food is too. All these are just substances we choose as a distraction from what we're thinking and feeling. But we know that the nicotine is out of the body within 72 hours. It's gone. So it's more craving than addiction. But if somebody wants to believe they're addicted, I explain to them, you can choose whatever belief you want, but beliefs aren't facts. So just say maybe. I don't need people to agree with me all the time. The more they can agree with the facts, the better. But I say, just say maybe. Maybe the millions of people who just, for whatever reasons, just in spite, or they got angry, or they're like, yeah, well, I'll show you. And they didn't smoke again. How the hell is that possible? So maybe that could happen for you too. So yeah, again, it's the reason why, and the why is always the substance that was chose for whatever reason or reasons to find relief, to find false pleasure. When people say, oh, I feel good when I do this or do that, I'm like, no, that's just overriding all the stuff going on that isn't good, because it gives you some temporary feeling. And the feeling is usually relief from what they think and feel. Or like one woman said, I don't know if I can stop because my kids drive me nuts. But when I'm on the deck and they're banging on the door, Mom, I look at them like this and I go, sorry. So this was her way of not having to deal with her kids all the time and get a break. But I worked with her as you can get a break many, many, many ways without having an excuse of a cigarette, right? So again, it's back to what are the thoughts and feelings that are the motivator to do the behavior that drive the behavior that's harming you. And when we get to that, then the behavior isn't required.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And Tom, let's get back to these were the questions mostly for the people who have some questions about applications or benefits of hypnosis and all that. Now, a bit of set of questions from behalf of fellow hypnotherapists. Like, there are different school of trainings.
Mhm.
Some people are against regression work. Some people like, age regression or any sort of regression. Why do we have to go into the past and dig and re-traumatize? I mean, I make sure that this question is there in most of my interviews so that many different versions are known. So what is your perspective about regressing the clients into their childhood or past? And why, what's your suggestion to the people who are scared of using regression work?
Okay. Well, how you presented it using the word traumatic or trauma, right? Going back to your trauma. Well, that's somebody who just doesn't know enough yet as a practitioner. You don't have to send people right through the experience again and exhaust it. I mean, we know that there are NLP techniques where you just hover above the scene, or it's the movie screen, so you're a little dissociated. There are, different styles or different ways to use what we call regression. And anytime you're reflecting upon the person's present life, and you're just talking about the past, that is regression. That's a regression out of the present moment to what's earlier in time. So we have to address what's gone on previously. And the way I do it with people is I say to them, imagine if you right now could go back in time physically in a time machine, and you could address younger parts of you that started all of this. And I say to them, you're not the one with the issue. You didn't start this, but you're the one dealing with it still. But imagine that younger part of you got your attention because they know they can't stop it, but they started it. So what we do is I go through this bit where once they're, in state, I have them just imagine going back to a time and a place as the adult they are. No one can say anything to them, parents or anybody, and to basically go rescue the younger version of yourself and sit with that person and address this issue and even ask them why. And they come up with answers. Well, I started smoking because, or I started eating like this because. And then I have them imagine taking that version of themselves into their present moment. And I say, imagine that this part of you felt left behind. And now you're going back to basically rescue them, bring them into your life now. Now you're the parent. See, we know that phrase, show me the 7-year-old and I'll show you the adult. Folks, help your client step into the parental role of self. So the inner child isn't who they keep being, that they parent and manage the inner child. So when a same or similar situation comes up in life, people react the way they did then. So somebody will say, but Tom, I acted like I was 10. Like, I know, because you're still the child. And then I explain this. So then when I do this and I say to them, thank you, parents, bring them back to this present moment and let this version of you, this image of you know, I'm your parent, I'm your guide, I'm your supervisor, I'm everything for you. And, and this seems to shift incredibly well, this person's detachment, disassociation, and conflict with themselves. So you can use what we call regression in so many ways. Timeline therapy is regression, right? There is no must. Okay, now there's somebody I highly respect in our profession, and he's in Europe. Highly respect this man. He does tremendous work, but he says you must use regression to cause. Like, that's bullshit. There is no must one way for anything, because all of us have helped people and that their change has lasted and lasted and lasted and lasted, and maybe never did any regression with them, with intention like that. So I don't believe there's any must, and I don't think we really, really know what we're talking about, because we may find out one day that everything we say and how we look at it and what our thoughts of it isn't really accurate. Like Orman McGill, the Dean of American Hypnotists, this guy was in movies and traveled and wrote books, and he was one of the most phenomenal men I ever met. He was just wonderful. He was like gentle and kind and intelligent and witty. And he once said at a presentation, do you know why we say 10 times deeper? And everyone's waiting. Orman's going to tell us. He said, because it sounds good. We don't know what it means, neither do they. And we don't know if they are, nor do they. So why even telling them it? And it isn't even deeper, folks. When we say you're going to be deeper relaxed, we just mean slower. Because what that means is the brainwave cycles per second are slowing down from beta, alpha, theta, delta, right? So the brainwave cycles per second goes slower as we drift down into those states, you know, from beta to alpha to theta. So it would be more accurate to go slower. That's right. Even slower still.
And use of the voice, like some people use this kind of thing, and some people talk normally. So, what is your suggestion on what kind of tonality
Hypnosis.
a hypnotherapist? So, Nicole, Tom, what I was asking is like, what kind of tonality should hypnotherapists maintain? Like, is it like flow or like talk normally? Yeah.
Like I okay. There are a couple of different ways to look at this now. Generally. And I used to have a website called the Hypnotic Script Writing Service, where you could send me a script and I'll edit it for you. Tell me what's up, I'll write one for you. And the tagline was the right words with the right tone at the right time. So every hypnotist needs to be a client. How the hell can you be a hypnotist when you don't even know what it's like to receive this here process? It's crazy how many hypnotists don't have a hypnotist or a coach. Crazy. So you got to understand that when you're delivering this language, you got to give them a little bit of time to process also. Sometimes you go too fast and they have yet to even process that thing you just said. So we want to give the mind time. Plus, just like music, if you hear AC/DC, or I mean, pick like a rock band, you're not going to be gentle and calm, because entrainment is we match our environment. So the tempo of the sound gets synced up. We sync up with the tempo. Now, if something is chill and lazy and gentle, we match that. So this is why the tempo that you use. Avoid sounding like a hypnotist, especially in recordings. Get all that reverb off of there. Get all of that Simon Sanctorum. Stop it. Just use the voice you have, a little gentler, a little calmer, and a bit slower. And that will be all you require. Now, that said, when I do demonstrations, there were times when it was very, very common where I would just pace back and forth. And I'd be in a room with people and I'd get somebody sitting there and I'd be talking like this. Now, you're going to find that even as you take a deep breath, you're going to drift even deeper still. And every deep breath you breathe will go into your lungs, and the respiratory system goes into your blood system, pumps through your heart. And people are like, what the hell? I can't do that. And it was just something that, I don't know, I just did. But it works because what we're doing is a confusion technique. We're overriding, right? The conscious mind can't keep up. And as Orman McGill said, the subconscious mind is the greatest computer that ever existed. You can't even, be faster than it. So it is possible that you can still get the results even at that kind of a machine gun tempo, though I wouldn't suggest it, especially, in an office setting. And this is my office now. And it isn't because of 2020. I was doing online sessions back in 2003 because I had clients around the world, even though I had 2 offices in different states. But your voice, just a calmer, gentler tone, giving it a little time and space. And that's all you require.
Thank you. And Tom, you have a certification course as well to train people to become hypnotherapists, and it's completely online. So about the course, I'll ask next, but how effective is online training, especially for the courses like hypnotherapy?
Okay. If there was only a very, very small usage of the internet. And one of those usages was being able to, train and be live like this with digital material. And then you still went out and did so much physically, it would still have an impact. But here's the thing. People say, well, I can't do arm drops and I can't do shoulder presses. If your language is skilled and your delivery is proper, you don't need to touch your clients. Plus, there are countries where you can't. So now what? So it's really an American kind of thing. Even when I used to go to England a bunch and teach there. And my buddy's the principal of the National College of Hypnosis and Psychotherapy. And so I've done a bunch of courses and classes and presentations in different parts of England. And I remember once in Daventry, I did an arm pull and half the room just was in shock. And then at break, somebody came to me and said, you just split the room in half. Half of them are saying how that's fine. The other half is you can never touch a client. Yes, you can with permission, but you don't have to. Yeah. You really don't have to. So Walid Al-Rajab, when I met him in England, he's from Kuwait, he says, I have to stay 10 feet away from my female clients and I can't use words like thighs or chest or things like that. So there are some places where you limit it anyway. And people say, what about the energetic, transfer between the two people in presence? You don't lose almost anything. So the conveniences are no travel. And I've had people fly from the Philippines to the Boston area and take lodging for a week to do work. I've had people drive 3 hours each way to do a 1 hour session. So no driving, no time, no cost. You don't have to get up and get dressed up and put on your makeup and whatever. No stressing out in the traffic and you just made it in time and now we got to start there. So the benefits are tremendous to do this online. And from the marketing standpoint, you're not just dealing with the people with an hour circumference of driving to your office. If you want to work with millionaires, imagine how many millionaires in your location or how many millionaires around the world that you can work with online. So now your market has opened up tremendously and you have a bazillion amount of people to offer your services to. So your odds change dramatically. And for the practitioner, it's amazing. I mean, I used to have 2 offices, the overhead, the cost, the travel, and all that. I just go from one room of my estate into another room and do my work. And if I'm traveling, I can do my Zoom work right there or on my laptop. So there are really no disadvantages, though some people, they just prefer it. Okay, then I hope you find somebody and it works out well for you. But 2020 didn't bring me to do everything online. So when I sold my property in New Hampshire, I moved out here to Ohio. I thought there's no reason to open another office and to deal with all of that. There's just no reason. Like I said, I've been doing this online back in Skype days in 2003 and on. And even when I had shut down both my offices in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and I was doing most of my work out of, or not most, but all my physical work out of my study in my home, 70% of my people were still online. And that was, way before 2020. So training online, and this is a long way around it. So when we're doing the training online, it's a wonderful situation because this is how they're going to now do their work. So they'll say, well, we can't break off and work with each other. Yeah. When you're online, you can break off into separate, say little rooms with each other and do it with nothing more than your language and your tone and your observation of the person. So we have to still see the person. That's why telephone hypnosis is a disservice and I think irresponsible because, they were quiet. Maybe they were crying and you didn't hear them. So we need to see, because even a facial expression, I'll say, and that right there, what was that? And they'll say, well, I felt this or I saw this. I'm like, okay. So we get cues from them. So as long as you can see the person and they're not holding their device, it's, supported. And this is just the Word document I sent to everybody. It's how to prepare for Zoom sessions. Then we could do the work. And I can tell you, now for the last 3 years, no person in person, my work is still pretty effective, let me tell you. And And like, again, now you can really seek out your ideal client, because that person is everywhere, but maybe they're not just in your location so much.
Maybe. Yeah.
So doing the training online, you really don't lose anything. The only thing would be that, again, the touching, and there's no need for it. So the only thing I can't show you physically is, say, a hand press, rapid induction, or things like that. But even in an office setting, though I've used them, it's not so conducive, you know, to do that shock and awe, those physical inductions. You don't need to, though it's cool to know, you know what I mean? And some people really love it, like, that was awesome, but it's not a necessity. So all you need to do is have the right words, the right tone at the right time.
Awesome.
And other techniques and processes, say NLP based or whatever, but it's all under the umbrella of hypnotism. And yeah, and help your client as well as you'd help them if they were sitting across from you.
Excellent. And Tom, could you please tell about your online certification program?
Yeah, the online program is through the NGH, the National Guild of Hypnotists. And one thing to keep in mind, folks, no matter who you get certified with or through, that's one style, one way. Have multiple influences as far as how this work is done, because not one institution, organization, whatever, is going to show you all the ways. And if so, it's probably going to be a really long course, you know, some of them like a year long, but you really don't retain it all. So it's learning something and then going applying it, learning something and applying it, learning something and applying it. And if you can apply it in your practice with multiple people rather than just, you know, an hour in training, and I don't like the word training, you know, in your learning, in your education, I picture a seal with a ball on its nose being trained, you know. So in your learning as you're becoming certified, imagine that if you took a piece and you could go now practice it, that would be much better, right? So the certification through the NGH, it's enough to get you going, to know what you're doing. Plus, the thing is, every instructor should be adding a lot of extra material. As even Dr. Damon says, the president of the Guild, this is the core curriculum. This isn't everything you need to know, but it's the core curriculum to get you certified, get you started, and then you continue your education. But in my certification, I add my audio sessions that you can share and use with your clients. You can't sell them, but you can use them in your practice. My scripts, anything that I have, I include. And I do this because when I got certified, you only know, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And I thought, oh, this is how it's done. Oh, no. There's so much more. So when my students are done, here's a good example. There was a gentleman, Steve, and his wife, Kathy, already was in practice for 5 years and 7 years in New Hampshire. On volunteer day, she came down and I said, Kathy, what are you doing here? Steve knows things I don't. So I came down to pick your brain for a day. So he was learning things that she didn't learn, even in her years of practice and whatever seminars she continued to go to. So the course is enough to get you confident and competent to start working with people as you build from there. You know what I mean? So you have everything you need to open up the next day. And the people in my course, I also will offer, and I not offer them, they have the opportunity to also do coaching with me after the training. Okay. So a lot of the hours that are part of the course, I leave some of those hours for them to come get training, coaching from me. So it may be, oh, I got this client and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, what are your thoughts on that? And then I say, well, how about this? And I'm like, oh, that's great. Or maybe they're freaking out because they're not confident enough while we do a session. And I get you to remove that block and to feel confident enough to go do what you need to do. So there's so much value that one woman said to me, she actually was she's a marketing psychologist, and she was on the team that created the ads for the blue M&M. she works for Procter and Gamble and big companies. So she said, when we were done, this is worth like 10,000, right? I said, yeah, but I'm never going to charge you that. So I believe in you, over deliver. I get paid fairly, very fairly, but I also believe add to their expectations. Even, when you meet their expectations, they're happy. You're like, man, this is everything I was hoping for. Then a little bit more. Yeah. So I can honestly say, even though it's the NGH course, my course is different than most. And I've even had people already certified, not just a couple, already certified, and come take the same course with me because there's so much more included. And I'm just, stating facts here. I'm not boasting or anything like that. I believe that you should help people get as ready and as competent as possible in the time you have with them. Not just, well, let's just go through the course and good luck. No.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. And my last question.
Okay.
What is your suggestion for people who are getting started or with few years of experience who are using these scripts? Because some people say do not use the script, your client itself is the script. Some people need scripts at some point for better wording or to deliver better sessions. So what's your suggestion, Tom, about using the scripts in these sessions?
It's just that is condescending and says, what are you, a script hypnotist? First, ask how long they've been doing it. If you've been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years and you're only relied on scripts, yeah, you got a lot of learning to do. But when you first start out, how else are you going to do this? It's ridiculous. Of course, you're going to use scripts, but there are a lot of people who go online and download, and I've done it. I've had a 3-ring binder stacked with every free script online. But you need to know good language patterns. So when you do read something scripted, already written, you know if it's good or not. Because you can find some language in some of these things that's not good at all. There are times when even I, at this level of my career, where I just wait until they tell me what they're going to tell me, and then intuitively stuff comes, or I pick up on something, and yeah, we go with it, no problem, no stress, no tension. But there may be some script that I already know of, like Jacob Bimblich, who's passed. He had a great stop smoking script, and I'll go, that would be great for this person today. Or I'll just get that intuitive thought, and I'll use it. I may branch off of it a little bit, but I'll use it because it's already proven, it's tested, it's done. So of course, you've got to use something in order to be able to deliver this work as you build upon your skill set. Okay. And yeah, now here's the thing. Whenever you're doing your intake or even your update, when you come in for the second, third, subsequent sessions, take notes of what they say. Now, this is where the hypnotist writes the script. I mean, the client writes the script. If somebody said to me, you know what, Tom, I decided I ain't doing this no more. Like, I decided I ain't doing this no more. And I use that in my session. I'll say, and you are finding that the subconscious mind is already finding the solution to what you have determined to be a problem, because you decided, I ain't doing this no more. I say it the way they said it even. How can their mind refute what they said? So that's where, even if you have a script, you still want to take these notes and use some of this language while you're using the basis language. And then you just build and build and build and go from there. Also, learn other techniques and styles. Grab some NLP techniques and language patterns, and you'll start to build and grow your skill set to where it will eventually flow into you being able to sit down, listen to somebody, and then pull from what's in here and what they deliver and do your session effectively.
Awesome. Wow. That's an amazing suggestion, and thanks for being honest throughout, Tom, like especially where you said the longest client you have seen was for 12 years, and then even whenever you find something useful, you adopt it in your sessions, if a script is good or sometimes so, because it is not either or situation. It's like going with what works best and implementing it. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, Tom. I hope fellow therapists and people who have some misconceptions about hypnosis got some clarity by seeing this. And friends, like whoever is interested to get certified from Tom, I'll be providing the link in the YouTube description, and also the book
Mhm.
which is available in US and India as well. That's a good news, Tom, that the
Right,
book is
at
available.
KalistiPublish.com.
So
But
I,
Nizam, I'd like to offer all viewers,
Mhm.
whether we'll say civilian or public or a working professional, a 30-minute free strategy call with me, where you explain your situation. I'll explain what you could do, what we may be able to do together, but there's no cost at all. There's no commitment. If you decide something you want to do, we could talk about that. But even a practitioner, here's where I am. I'm stuck. I want to get to this level. I need to do this or whatever. Give you some suggestions and some ideas that will surely help you. And then if it's something you want to pursue, we can talk about it. All you have to do is email me, my name, Tom Nicoli @gmail.com, and just put, free strategy session in the subject line, and we'll work it out.
Wow, that's a great gift for the audience. Thank you very
Sure.
much. Thank you very
We have to
much.
give. You got to give. And it isn't with the intention of getting, but you got to give, man. We're all of service. And when you're of service and you do things for the right reason, all the good stuff will follow.
I believe in that too. Thank you. Thank you once
Oh,
again. Thanks for your time.
my pleasure. Thank you.